The Dauntless. The final little session of today's council meeting was going through. It again wasn't a topic that the Undaunted were tied to, but it was an important one regardless. Trading rights and franchises of large corporations. There are several different representatives from numerous companies pleading their cases to be allowed to trade and sell in more parts of the galaxy. But some entire sections of the galaxy were closed off to specific companies due to labor practices and products sold. Sometimes the reason was religious. Certain foods were considered tainted or easily tainted by other products. Products that were often used to package and preserve foodstuffs or just items in general. It was as if a major religion had issues with plastic. Frustrating as all hell for most major corporations and something they kept arguing against. It's more akin to a regular floor show than a serious proposition. No one on the council is willing to budge. Going against your constituents in such a way is political suicide, and the corporations are less using this to try to convince people that won't move so much as advertise their brands to those that are more willing. The few times the corporations ignored these restrictions, they found the local area to be a massive dearth of customers anyways. So the whole point of all this was a performance art to advertise, which while interesting could almost be pushed aside. Almost, but not quite. It turns out not letting the corporations have their floor show tends to cause enormous problems. There are ways to seriously kick up a massive stink in Congress and force an appearance by any organization large enough. There's a knock at his door. It's open behind him, but he doesn't turn to look. "Hello, who are you?" Private Stream asks curiously. Who are you?" The woman at the door returns. "Hey, no fair, I asked you first." Private Stream protests, and Admiral Cistern slowly turns with amusement to regard whatever may be happening. Private Stream is in an argument with a Horchka woman that is crouched down to regard him. She's still taller than he is, even though she's crouched down so low she's almost sitting on the floor. She looks up and sees him regarding her, and she starts to stand up. "Excuse me, Admiral Cistern. I am speaking with me now, ma'am," Private Stream interrupts. "Thank you, Private Stream, but I don't think she's the type that needs a confusion game," Admiral Cistern says. "She did knock politely after all." "Yes, sir, but I didn't get her name yet." Private Stream complains in a whining tone that gets a very odd look from the Horchka, even as he steps out of her way. "I'm Hachia Strong Strides. I'm just here to set up a meeting," she explains as she takes 3 steps into the small booth and is still well out of sight from others. "My employer prefers to trust runners or in-person meetings when she's on the same planet as someone rather than hollow communications or video calls. I see Miss Strong Strides. I generally have a rather full schedule with doctor-mandated breaks to avoid burnout. Private Stream, find an opening if you can." "Already on it, sir." The private chirps as he has his communicator out and is browsing through it. "Very good. Might I ask about the nature of the meeting? I'm going to assume it's not just for some random pleasantries," Admiral Cistern asks, and Strong Strides nods. "My employer is Jerisha Greatblade. She's predictably the owner and founder of Greatblade Productions. We craft all forms of melee weapons and are interested in creating copies and recreations of human sword designs of all types for sale. She'd like to talk about patent prices and protections and such. I don't know the details myself. I'm just the messenger girl." Strong Strides explains, and Admiral Cistern nods. Then Private Stream nods as he looks up. "We've got time at 4:20 tomorrow, sir. It's 25 minutes long," Private Stream calls out. "Will your employer be comfortable meeting on the Dauntless?" Admiral Cistern asks. "She will be fine with that, sir. Thank you for your time." Strong Strides say she then offers a slight bow. "By your leave." "By all means, madam, have a wonderful day." Admiral Cistern bids her, and she departs. When the door closes again, Private Stream immediately starts looking around the room before pulling out a scanner and sweeping the whole area. No bugs, sir. Very good. Now, what more do we have about Great Blade Productions? He asks, and Private Stream holds up his communicator. It projects a holographic image of a general overview of Great Blade Productions. There's a quickly scrolling list of planets they have offices on, another scrolling list of products, and a summarization of controversies in the past and their net worth, which is just shy of several trillion credits per quarter. I see. So they've gotten into patent trouble in the past. That explains why they're playing nice now. Admiral Cistern notes. What do we have about Miss Greatblade? Private Stream quickly fiddles with the communicator and brings up a second projection. It shows a general readout of the woman that Private Stream reads out loud from his side. 176 years old, born and raised on a migratory trade fleet, 230 centimeters tall, 20 stone in weight, most of it muscle, numerous arrests for violent conduct as a teenager, and she tried to run away from home as a child by hijacking a shuttle. 3 failed marriages. Currently in a happy 4th marriage with a total of 6 children to her name. 2 sons, 4 daughters, and apparently another 3 wards that she's raised. I see. What's this note on her religion? HFY spiritualism? It's an old faith that's more a fad than a proper religion now. Like witches on Earth. They apparently think that all issues are enemies to fight in some way, and that as you solve a problem, you kill the spirit of the conflict. But sometimes solving it isn't enough, so you need to have a knife ready in order to fight it off. And if you absolutely have to, cut out its heart and eat it. Private Stream relays from what his handler is telling him. Interesting. What significance does eating the heart have in their culture? Admiral Cistern asks, and Private Stream waits for his handler to look it up. Absolute dominance, sir. Becoming stronger is poetically referred to as eating the heart of weakness in a lot of popular culture. Same for healing and learning is called eating the heart of ignorance. If you eat a spirit's heart, then you're immune to its power. So followers of the old belief always have a knife in case death comes and they have a chance to become immortal by eating its heart. Private Stream relays. And it's more of a fashion choice? Yes, sir. My handler, Mr. Zero, would like to personally add that he's had interactions with HFY on his private time and can confirm that this comes up in casual conversation. He also adds that while they tend to finger their knives while thinking he's never seen one drawn yet, even when a girl is really angry. I see. Thank you, Mr. Zero, for your assistance. And thank you, Private Stream, for yours. You may return to your normal duties, Admiral Cistern says, and receives a crisp salute rather than an overeager one. So, both an opportunity to make money and get some better melee weaponry has reared its head. The processes of actually creating more advanced weapons, melee weapons, is very time-consuming to set up. They are setting it up, but in general, most knives are only being enhanced through axiom effects or totems being applied to the weapons. Something with a bit more bite on its own would be useful. A knife imbued to project an extension of its blade is scary, but it stands out like a flare when you're sensing axiom. A blade that's been designed to shred through things from the molecular scale upwards is much more dangerous, and it's much harder to detect, which means he needs to get 3 of each for every person in his intelligence division. A stiletto is a useful tool. A mono-serrated stiletto is terrifying, to say nothing of other potential melee options. Still, he can't dwell like an eager shopper for long. The little advertising campaign that is the feudal debates is wrapping up and things are moving to a topic that he was unhappy with. There are numerous political entities outside the council by choice. The galaxy is a gigantic place, and to be frank, Admiral Cistern can fully respect that someone would want to opt out of all this. There are many counselors that disagree with him, that the Galactic Council should be the whole galaxy, and there be no exceptions. Thankfully, Admiral Cistern is far from the only person who dislikes the very topic, and the arguments against forceful integration of the rogue elements are both swift and numerous. One of the popular arguments for the integration is that those places are security risks to their neighbors, and they should compensate the rest of the galaxy with taxes. The argument against that is that the security risk is mutual, and they're not making any plans on compensating the independent states for that. Then things go sideways as someone brings up potential actual compensation for the independent states and how that may be used as a way to peacefully integrate them. It's far less egregious a suggestion, but then that of course leads into who will fund it. That kicks off a minor shitstorm as no one wants to reach into their budgets and actually do something. Oh sure, they all want to look good and be seen as upright and moralistic individuals. But in the end, few, if any of them, have the wherewithal to risk of themselves for another. Admiral Cistern makes a note of a few named systems. It will be important later. After all, independent and intelligent people make excellent recruits. Things wrap up as they usually do, with everything powering down and Lady Tycanped strutting into the center of the main chamber. Honored counselors of our galactic society, I'm afraid that is all the time we have for this day of debate and discourse. We have all served our peoples to the fullest of our abilities, and let none dare dispute otherwise. We now separate from one another in order to handle the personal affairs of our people, but let there be no doubts that we will once more come together in order to ensure that our peoples can work together in the future as we do now. With a final flourish of her fan, Lady Tycanped gives a slight bow like an actor after a theater performance and then struts away. Well, that's that then. Not much accomplished, but a fair amount was deflected and dealt with. Sir, I expected more confrontation, sir, Private Stream states as he walks up next to him, even as Admiral Cistern rises up. After I solved the confrontations earlier, any other detractors likely reconsidered. 1 or 2 attacks a session is just a coincidence. 3 or more piling on the same day looks like a coordinated attack to bully someone into submission. Even if it's successful, it's not a good look, and they weren't getting successful jabs in. Optics certainly play a large part, Private Stream notes. Oh yes, it's extremely important in politics and tactics both. Of course, you need to learn how to tell when things are just appearances and not actually the way they're presented as. As you say, sir, Private Stream states, and Admiral Cistern walks through the room and the door opens in front of him with Private Stream on his heels. Darling, Lady Tycanped calls out as he exits his own small room, and he smiles at the sight of her. I'm glad I was able to catch you. We do have some plans tonight. And after such a long day, we're all going to need something to take the edge off. Admiral Cistern replies as she flutters close to him. Oh, indeed, my darling, indeed. Do remember, sir, you have appointments tomorrow. Try not to have too much fun. Private Stream reminds him. Am I going to have to remind every stream that they can be written up or have their pay docked? Admiral Cistern asks as Lady Tycanped giggles softly. But sir, you wanted us sassy and outspoken, sir. Private Stream protests, and Admiral Cistern gives out a theatrical sigh even as Lady Tycanped giggles even harder.